As foreigners in Japan, we sacrifice a lot to live here. But what if I told you that most of us aren't getting what we truly deserve? What if I told you that most of us are getting ripped off? The price we pay to be here, our time, family, friends, money, career prospects, often isn't worth the life we actually get. Despite all the efforts and sacrifices, many will have an easier and better life back home. At least, that's my opinion. It doesn't have to be this way. I believe that a few key mistakes at the start can make all the difference between thriving in Japan and barely getting by, between actually living here or just surviving.
Hi, if you're new here, my name is Axel, and I've been living in Japan for now 6 years. When I arrived in Japan, I came with no degree, no Japanese, no job, and I had a pretty hard time during my first year here. It took me a bit of time to start to understand how to navigate Japan, and eventually I have now, my own company, and I learned a lot along the way, and this is what this channel is all about. I really want to share as much of the lessons that I learned in order for people to save themselves some time, save themselves some misery, because I believe that if you come to Japan, you should live a great life and not just survive. During my first year in Japan, I made really a lot of mistakes, but the one that I want to deep dive into today is one that I believe is particularly dangerous for the long term. And I think a lot of foreigners make that mistake and don't necessarily recognize it until it's sometimes too late. The mistake is related to what is called social capital. And so what I believe happens is when you arrive in a country, like any country, not just Japan, your social capital usually is zero, right? You don't know anyone, you don't speak the language, you don't have a network, you don't have your family, you're by yourself, you're pretty much at a social capital of zero. People that surround you, the locals, they'll have a way higher social capital than yourself. And so if you want to go to a new place and you want to succeed there and actually be competitive, and live a great life, you basically need a higher social capital. I think we can agree on that. So then, by that logic, the first thing you will do as an expat coming to Japan is that as soon as you arrive, your goal should be to avoid other people with a social capital of zero. Because 0 plus 0 equals 0, right? So your goal should be mainly to surround yourself with people that have a very high social capital. And this is where I fucked up. And I believe a lot of people fuck up. Now that I established where I messed up, I want to share with you my story and some of the conclusions that I made out of it. In the hope, like I said, that I can help some people avoid making the same mistake and be potentially the difference between living a great life here in Japan or barely surviving and basically hating your life potentially. So I'll try to keep this as short as possible while still giving you enough context to understand where I'm coming from. I came to Japan about 6 years ago, and during my first year, basically, I was pretty miserable. Like, my days were looking like this. In the morning, I was going to a language school because I came under a student visa, so I was studying Japanese. I hate it personally, I really struggled with it. And in the afternoon, I was hustling, trying to make money whatever way I could find. And in the evening, I was either spending time with my wife, by the time just girlfriend, or I was hanging out with, my classmates, like friends that I was making along the way. The social network that I was building up was all expats that were roughly within the same situation as myself. Basically, shitty jobs, no money, studying the language, struggling in Japan, and somehow believing that the main goal is all about staying in Japan and feeling some sense of fulfillment by just being in Japan. Even though we were miserable and we know our life will be better home, we still kind of joked about it and we're just staying in Japan and just, sticking around together, right? So that was my life. And after a year, I remember going back home at some point and, just the routine, right? Like, get home, I complained to my wife on how much I hate my, back then it was an English teaching job, complain about how much I hate my job. And she tells me, oh, look, maybe we should give up on Japan. And so what I did, I spent a bit of time sitting down with my own thoughts and started to write down all the reasons why I didn't like Japan and the reasons why I believe that I got into that situation. Write everything down. The list was, things like I don't speak the language, I don't have money, I have a shitty job, I have, no opportunities here, my friends are all broke as well, so, we can't do anything basically. Here's where it gets really interesting, and I really want to share that moment as probably the key moment of change. So I have that list, the day after, again, back to the routine, and that day I go to some izakaya with some friends, and I sit down and I'm sharing my thoughts, and I share that list to them. And here's where the moment of realization happens. I share that list to one of my friends, and his reaction is, I'll never forget this. He's just looking at me, he's like, well, what did you expect? This is what the expat life is like in Japan. You just have to suffer through it. And that moment, it hit me. It hit me that there was no way for me improve my life in Japan if I was sticking around with those people. To give you a bit more context on how weird it is that I fell into that trap, is that when I left my home country, Belgium, I left my home country because I wanted to change. I wanted to do something more with my life, and I couldn't. I was struggling with drug addiction back then. I was involved in a bunch of shit that overall were going to get me in some real troubles. And I wanted to change, but every time I was trying to deal with the addiction problem, I fell back into it because my entire network, my entire social circle was all consuming and enjoying this stuff. So I couldn't change, and at some point I had to admit that I need to leave everything behind in order to change, which is what I did. And so when I'm in Japan and this friend tells me, well this is what it is, it just hit me. I'm like, man, I literally surrounded myself with people that all have the same issues as myself, and so it just feels so reassuring to bitch about our problems all the time together, that the energy that we spend bitching, we could actually spend it trying to solve a problem. But you become the average of the people you surround yourself with. And it just hit me, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this. Luckily I realized it. I think from there on, I started really to upgrade my social network, try to surround myself with people that I felt like had things figured out in Japan. But what I really want to discuss about here and share is that I think this is a trap a lot of people fall into. And my belief is that people fall into that trap because when you go to Japan, the environment is so challenging. You're by yourself, you don't speak the language, etc., etc. It's a hard country to live in, honestly. And I really want to focus on why I believe people make that mistakes. And I speak out of experience, right? I'm not putting myself above anyone here. I'm just simply someone who realized it and who was able then to act upon it. I think what happens is when you arrive in Japan, everything is new, everything is challenging. Man, you don't speak the language. Opening up a bank account is hard, setting up a cell phone plan is hard. Everything is hard, everything is complicated, and you want people to share that pain with. And so the best people to share your pain with are the people who suffer with you at the same time. And so I feel like it's just natural to surround yourself with people who have the same issues as you, aka a social capital of 0 often. Because I had that need of, surround myself with people that I could feel comfortable with, I realized that I did set myself up to fail in Japan from day one. I was literally starting my journey in Japan with weak foundations from the beginning. Social capital 0 and add some more 0 to it. It's not gonna work. And what I did after that was just completely change my social network. I told some of those close friends that, hey, sorry, but I need to start, stepping up because I hate my life here. And from there, I just started to focus really on some mindset shifts, succeeding in Japan is not optional, it's an obligation, right? There's so much that I sacrifice, not being with my family, that I feel like succeeding in Japan is not an option, it's an obligation. The other thing that I start focusing on all the time was to never be the smartest person in the room. Just be in a room where you can learn from people. Be in a room where it's just positivity. You don't want to complain about your problems, you just want to learn how people navigate Japan. You want to learn from people, you want to take
so much, wisdom from those who are making it. And that starts with that uncomfortable moment of just being super humble and admitting to people that have it figured out to say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here, I need help. But the natural tendency will always be to surround yourself with people that struggle with the same things as you. There's just a certain sense of comfort to it. I really wanted to share that mistake and trap in the hope that some people can see it, avoid it, save themselves a lot of time. I understand that this might come across as maybe arrogant or not something pleasant to hear. I'll take it. For me, the reason I want to share this is, I'm lucky to be in the situation where I am, and I also am very aware that there's nothing really special about me. I'm not particularly smart, I'm not particularly charismatic or whatever. There's nothing really special about me. I just realized the importance of social capital, and I did bet everything on that. If I look at my life right now, nothing is really different. I'm just the average of the people that I'm surrounding myself with. It really comes down to it. So if, from what we said in the beginning, you are the average of the people you surround yourself with, the easiest way to improve your life and to truly live a good life in Japan is just surround yourself with people that have it figured out. That's it. So yeah, I hope this video doesn't come across as me being, a know-it-all or down talking about people. Everyone is nice, but if you want more than just surviving, remember this. Social capital. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And the day you come to Japan, recognize the pitfall. If you are in Japan and you feel stuck and you're not necessarily happy with your life, just, reach out. I'm the average of my network and I have an amazing network. I will plug you in and hopefully, you make something out of it. I was very hesitant to make this video, like the tone to take. I wasn't really sure how to approach it. But look, if people don't like it, I'll take it. I'm fairly convinced that even if I can help one person out there through this video, worth it, just worth it. If you feel like this is the kind of content that is interesting about Japan, please let me know. I personally wish there were that kind of videos out there on YouTube when I started my journey in Japan. I feel like there's not enough content that really prepare people to stand out here in Japan and actually live instead of just surviving. I feel like there's a lot of content that is, I will say meaningless. But here's my thing. I believe that the sacrifices we make to be here in Japan, we need to live a great life. You choose to live abroad, you choose to live in Japan because you want to have a great story. Don't make that story average. Chase a good life, a great life you can be proud of. Expanding your comfort zone, going to live abroad is only the first step. You gotta keep challenging yourself all the time. So yeah, work on that social capital. It's really about who you know and not what you know. I hope this helps. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.